Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about black hair, which is also known as afro hair or maybe even textured hair. I am a curly girl, as you may have guessed, and my hair has been a huge part of my life, as it is for a lot of people. Hair has been used as a way to express yourself, just like clothes and makeup, and black hair in particular is a huge part of black culture. For many individuals, black hair care consisted of braids or twists, weaves or extensions, wigs, or even chemically straightening your hair or relaxing your hair. And in the past, there was very much a drive to obtain as close to European hair as we could. Despite this, over the past few years, the natural hair community has exploded, and many black individuals have put down their weaves, their straighteners, their relaxers, and instead have embraced their natural curls and coils. The UK black hair industry is worth an estimated £88 million. We spend a lot on our hair. And for many black individuals, hair is a huge part of our identity, and we pride ourselves on it. Discrimination based on our hair is something that is still very prevalent, especially in Europe and in North America. So in this video, I'm actually going to be talking about the different kinds of discrimination that black people do face, and a little bit on the end on what we can actually do about it. I will be talking primarily about black women's hair, but of course some of these issues do apply to other people of colour and of course to black men as well. So, number one, discrimination in schools. You can find countless stories of young students who were suspended or expelled from their school, or got into trouble at school in some way due to their hair. Most of the stories that I have heard have come from the States, but the UK is definitely not innocent in this. In most cases, schools may change or start enforcing their dress codes more strictly, and those dress codes may not include things like hair extensions or braids. Now, on first glance, these rules may not seem like such a big issue. Something like banning hair extensions may seem reasonable enough, especially when we're talking about 11-year-olds. However, rules like that typically don't differentiate between super long or coloured hair extensions and the kind of hair extensions that are braided into hair. Back in 2011, a young boy won a case in the UK courts against his former school after he turned up at his first day of school with cornrows and was refused entry. The school had a blanket ban on them, and the courts ruled that this was unlawful due to the discrimination specifically on black people. And here are a couple more examples. Heads accused of unfair bans on black hair. This one is UK based. Louisiana girl sent home from school over braided hair extensions. White students cut off black girls' dreadlocks in Virginia. This one made the rounds at the time since it involved the school that Karen Pence, who's the wife of Mike Pence, worked at. Texas school district sued for colouring in teens' hair. I think it's really important to note that I found these articles in probably about 20 minutes max of searching. You can probably find many more examples, unfortunately. The main issue with these kinds of bans, with kind of dress code bans in general, is where education is being placed on the list of priorities. If you are enforcing a rule that denies a child's entry into a place of learning, then you are valuing their education less than the way they look. But of course comes the additional racist aspect of these black hair bans in particular. When your rules target a group of people specifically, then you should review those rules. These bans are not okay, but what is sometimes worse is when schools realise that they have these bans and then do nothing to solve the problem. We need to remember that children are in their formative years, and even if not explicitly, if they are being told that their hair is messy or wrong or unacceptable or something that can be banned, they then may internalize that and carry that with them for years to come. We should not be showing children that their hair is different or that their hair is an other. Number 2, discrimination in the workplace. So you have left school and you have now entered the working world. Congratulations. But are you free from hair discrimination? Probably not. Natural black styles in particular are very stigmatized in the professional world, and many experience pressure to conform to more European standards of beauty. I think a really good example of this is the idea of unprofessional versus professional hairstyles. There was a fairly viral tweet a few years ago where someone googled professional hairstyles for work and compared the results to unprofessional hairstyles for work. All the professional styles depicted white women with straight Caucasian hair, but the unprofessional styles consisted entirely of black women with natural hair. If you can't see where the problem lies, then I have no words for you. I think it's also important to note that some of these styles were actually very similar, and the only difference between the two models were their skin colour and their hair type. There's a really interesting Guardian article that I came across while researching this that I will link in the description. It talks about how this issue highlights other examples of racism within Google's algorithms. It is very much worth a read. I would recommend it. Of course, this kind of stigma then travels into your employment and even your interviews. Back in 2015, a woman named Lara Adolphin posted on Facebook about the fact that she had received a job offer from a company, who then went on to say that if she did not remove her braids, they would have to revoke that job offer. In her post, she talks about how terrible that is and how she cannot ever work for that company even if they went back and apologised for their actions. Now, imagine having a job offer revoked, not because of something that you have done, not because of something you haven't done, not because you lied about a qualification or anything like that. No. Because they don't approve of your hair. Your hair. And again, there are loads more examples of this. Wear your weave to work, your afro hair is unprofessional. Black woman told to straighten hair if she wants Harrod's job. Natural hair advocates take on the US Army. This one is from 2014 and talks about how the US Army changed their hair regulations, which seriously impacted black women with natural hairstyles, as some braids and twists and other hairstyles were no longer allowed. Number 3, literally everywhere else. Unfortunately, it isn't just at school and at work that we can experience hair discrimination. Aside from the very obvious touching of the hair that many Afro wearers in particular will experience. Please don't touch my hair. Please. Another issue that we have is the association with black hair and drugs in particular, but also gangs. A number of years ago, I think it was back in 2015, presenter Juliana Rancic made headlines when, during an episode of Fashion Police, discussing Zendaya's Oscar red carpet look, where she was wearing dreadlocks, Rancic said that she looks like she smells of patchouli oil or weed. Whereas Juliana did apologise for the remarks and claims that they had nothing to do with race. It does bring up the fact that her first reaction upon seeing dreadlocks was to think of drugs, especially when dreadlocks are a primarily black hairstyle. There is a huge stigma and association with black people and drugs. That association is then put onto our hair with the idea that if you wear dreadlocks, for example, you must smoke weed. In addition to how people react to our hair, we also have an issue with how people react with our hair. Many black individuals have issues with getting their hair done. Out of the nearly 36,000 hair salons in the UK, less than 1% are Afro specialists. Many will find that they have to travel a great deal to find a suitable salon, or be faced with "we don't do your hair type" when they try and drop in. Whereas this may seem like not a massive deal, most people can just walk into a salon and the only thing they have to worry about is whether or not they have an appointment, not whether the salon even understands how to do your hair. The last time I went to the hairdressers, I spent literal months researching salons near me and finding one that would be best for me. And I was really lucky that the one that I went with turned out to be absolutely amazing. But the fact that I had to do that research and I couldn't just walk into one and hope for the best shows that there is an issue. If you do want to read up a little more about this, there are a couple of articles that I would recommend and I will link them in the description. As an additional final point, I have seen some people equating black hair discrimination with coloured hair discrimination or extreme hair discrimination. I don't really like calling it extreme hair. I'm talking about things like mohawks or hairstyles that are in some way considered, you know, extreme, not the norm, that would be considered unprofessional, for example. Now, I think that no one should be judged for what they look like or how they choose to express themselves. So I think if you are not getting a job because your hair is pink, that is terrible. That should not happen. However, an important thing to remember is that these hair discriminations are not the same. Your pink hair is not natural. My afro is. If you shouldn't face discrimination because your hair is pink, then I definitely shouldn't for my natural hair. I think it is really important to understand that for a lot of this black hair discrimination, we are talking about our natural hair, our naturally occurring hair. And in the cases where we are not talking about our natural hair, we're usually talking about hairstyles that are deeply rooted within our culture, that are inherently black, and being discriminated against that is racism, whereas it's not racist to not hire someone because they have pink hair. It's still terrible, but I think that's an important distinction. We shouldn't lump the two together. So, what can we do about this? Is there anything that we can do about this? The main thing is, if you see someone being treated badly because of their hair, do something. You know, stand up for them, show them that they're not alone in this. If you see someone at work who is being treated differently because they happen to have an afro, you know, speak up to HR, speak up to your boss, speak up to your managers, but also go up to that person and ask them if they're okay. Ask them if they want any help. Ask them if they need someone to talk to. Be someone who's there for them. If you are a salon owner, and I cannot stress this enough, learn how to do black hair. You will get so much money. Like, trust me, like, £88 million, that could be yours. I mean, not all of it, but encourage your workers to learn more about textured hair, to learn more about curly hair. The most important thing is just to think about your own biases and the way you see others. You know, if you see someone walking down the street with dreadlocks, is your first thought that they must have drugs on them? Challenge your own internal biases, the way you stereotype people, and make sure you stand up for those who are experiencing this kind of discrimination. That's the best thing you can do. There are a few petitions in various different places that are specifically focused on hair discrimination. I know there is one currently for the UK about actually making hair discrimination illegal, not legal, illegal. And I will put a link to that in the description as well if you want to sign that. That's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to look at the description, give those links a read. They're really, really informative, so I really would recommend them. If you like this video, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. I do a lot of these kind of videos. So yeah, if you're interested in stuff like that, stay tuned. I'll have more. Anyway, thanks. Bye.